discussion program. I'm South of East London, and with me soon will be Gregory. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushing. I'm Saad, as I said, and with me now is Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine. It's cool. And it's getting dark.
Right, same here in London. It's overcast here. It's getting cool or cold. It's been bright and sunny early in the day with some clouds, but now it's definitely overcast. So welcome listeners to this spiritual discussion program. As I say, the aim is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushing. And every week we have a topic for discussion. The topic tonight is the world has changed. The world has changed. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us in on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Uprushing is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual, their strengths. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experience of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Uprushing. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. for the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we are discussing tonight is the world has changed. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Gregory, as you know, I like to look up the meaning of the words of the topic in the dictionary and see what it helps us, whether it helps us in our discussion. So again, the topic is the world has changed. So the first, you could say the key word is world. And in the dictionary, I found 2 meanings here. First one, the earth, together with all its countries and peoples. How's this meaning, Gregory?
That is a local expression to indicate the immediate environment. I think it would have been better if they included not only the people and the lands and the countries, but also the environment and all that it contains.
Right. Okay. The second meaning, I don't think it helps much better at all. It says, there's the meaning for the word world, a particular region or a group of countries. And they give example, the English-speaking world. So is that any good at all, Gregory, for our discussion?
We can find that as a subset that has been taken of the world.
Subset. Yeah, subset of the world. Okay. So this world, when we are discussing tonight, it has to be, let's say, wider than that. I mean, so far, all it comes to is the earthly. So I guess, Gregory, we need to go beyond the earthly as well. Is that right?
Of course.
Sure.
Because the framework of this discussion is spiritual. So it has to go beyond the world of matter, which is being referred to.
Right. Okay. So we will explore that as we go. Next, I will go to the word changed. So here I've got 2 meanings again in the dictionary. It says make someone or something different, alter or modify. How about this one? Is that good for
Well, there's alteration and modification there, which is intrinsic to change. So that's correct.
Okay. And the second one, it says replace something with something else, especially something of the same kind that is newer or better. Substitute one thing for another. How about that one?
Well, they are very similar to the first one, but the second one is more extreme.
I see. Okay. Now, again, listeners, the topic we've chosen is the world has changed. And we already pointed that the world is not only the earthly world that we are very much familiar, it is beyond the earthly as well. spiritual as we know. That is our discussion every week. So, but we'll do it, as I say, take one step at a time before we, reflect on everything. So now, Gregory, we say the world has changed. But Gregory, I can say that the world is always changing because, as you know, every week in our show, we talk about the law of motion or movement. And so basically, because nothing really stands still, it's always moving. In other words, it's also changing. So, continuously changing, you can say. So if there's this phrase, the world has changed, is there something specific that we mean by that? The world has changed. Has something happened which is like, I don't know if I should use the word unusual or something different than before? Is that what we mean by saying the world has changed?
It is almost impossible to know the motive which is behind an expression. But like you said, change is continuous. Maybe if it has to be reframed, it would be that the forms which we as human personalities are used to, these forms are in constant change. But the world itself hasn't changed, but the forms in it are changing.
Okay, so let me think on that, reflect on that. So the world has not changed, but the forms have changed. That's what you're saying. Okay. So we're wondering what are these forms that have changed, and the world itself has not changed. Okay. So now, Gregory, when you said that, that the meaning of this world now seems to be totally different, per se, context than what we have been saying up till now, because the earthly world or world of matter, we could say, is constantly changing in the sense of, let's say, there's always a birth and death in the sense of a cycle in this universe, with stars, with human beings, animals. So there's always this constant cycle, you can say. But I'm wondering, but you're saying the world has not changed. So can you explain that a bit more there, Gregory? Which world has not changed, or what is not changing in this world? That's what puzzling me right now. So because everything else we know, there's a birth and there's a death. So that means there is a cycle there. So is there not the world of this world, is it not also having a birth and also a death?
Well, the world itself contains some structures, and there is a framework that allows the world to exist. And within this framework, there are changes in the forms, in the way the inhabitants of this world manifest. That means there is a birth, there is a growth, subsequently there is a death, and then it goes round again and again. So the world itself is there, But the inhabitants that make up the world, these inhabitants in their manifestations, they change from one state to another state. For instance, the case of men, they are born, they grow, they get old, and after some time, there is death. And thereafter, there is continuity. Others are born. So you'll find there's the coming in and then the going out and the coming in and the going out. It is the inhabitants. It is the way they manifest that is changing. But the world itself, that which you define as the world, is still here. That is what one is referring to. And also, if one is considering the inhabitants, in the case of men, there are the thoughts. As long as the individual, the human spirits or human beings here on earth, they have thoughts. That has not changed because they have thoughts. They have their intuitions. That has not changed. If it is that of the animals have their own sphere. They have their own constitution. The animals are still there. The plants are still there. They still perform their functions. But the forms in their manifestation, it is these forms that have changed.
Thanks, Gregory, for this picture you're giving us. I'm still trying to work out what you're saying, what it all means. The forms are changing, but the world is not, and I'm still trying to make sense of it. I can see that, yes, human beings are born and grow, and then they die, and then new human beings are coming, and they are born. Let's say also going through the same cycle of birth, growth, and then death, and then somewhere they go in this death. And similarly, animals, they also are so I'm seeing that as well, that cycle is there. So what I could say, Gregory, the cycle doesn't change in the sense that there's always a cycle of birth and growth and death. That's always there. So if that is what the world means, then that world, that structure or process, it's always there. So that one I can take it that this cycle is like a permanent cycle. And you say the forms that's the way the forms are changing.
It is that cycle that defines the object that you described as the world. Those processes, those cycles still remain, all right? And that's what distinguishes it from the others. As long as that still remains, it is the forms within that which is referred to as the world that has changed. Basically, many are referring to the world of matter. And the world of matter is a species of its own. And that being the case, there is movement within the constituents of this particular entity referred to as the world or the world of matter. Because it has a beginning, it has an end, and then it repeats itself. That is what is referred to. So it is the constituents that need to undergo further developments. And the word development already says it all.
Yes, thank you for that, Gregory. I've got a message from a listener. I just want to, but I don't want to bring it up just yet because I just want to allow us to expand what we are saying. So I want to let's just see how the human beings have developed, you could say, or in this cycle of birth and death, and birth, growth, and death. So let me ask Gregory. You know, we say people can change, or let's say, which could be they can change for the better, or they can change for the worse. You know, like progress of humanity. So, well, in regards to technology, you can say humanity has progressed in, with science and so on, able to invent things which are making things, let's say, making life more, I don't know, the word is comfortable or more efficient, able to achieve things, in a more easier way, in terms of doing things quicker, you could say, and in a mass production. So that's, in that sense, we could call it an improvement. And then other ways, Gregory, man seems to we're still fighting wars and not able to solve problems within our own human being. So technologically, it seems human beings can advance, but when it comes to with their fellow, how their life is with their fellow human beings, neighbors, countries, it seems, yes, there's some places there's peace, and other places for sure it is not. It has been war. It cannot come to some, how can I say, peaceful resolutions. So in that sense, you could say the world hasn't really become better. So can we look at that now, Gregory? Can we say, in general, has humanity become better in life in terms of, I don't mean now in a scientific way, in producing things, but in living together, have they moved forward? Let's say since, how can we look at this now? Because maybe when the first man was here, there was some peace, and then at some point things went wrong, and things. So let's try to make a point where we can go, sort of, I can say, compare. And I'm not quite sure how to do that because the human population has multiplied over time. And let's say there's obviously, that means if there's more people, you could have more, in theory, similar things happening, and there could be more problems just because of the number of people being more. But in terms of progress, Gregory, how can we assess human beings? Have they moved forward in general, or is it that they have, you could even say, retrogressed in terms of their lives, human lives, Gregory, not in terms of technology?
Well, if things have to be judged from a spiritual standpoint, then the answer is clear. Because from a spiritual standpoint, in which you have one for all and all for one, in which you have that the human personality that started as a spirit seed grain need to evolve to develop the talents which have been sown into it. If that had gone in accordance with the volition that made it possible for the human personality to exist, then the inhabitants here on earth will be more cooperative with themselves and with one another, and will support their different, though the notions will be leading to the same goal, to spiritual ennoblement. The state of the world right now of the human personalities provides a different perspective. Therefore, one may not say there has been improvement in the spiritual front.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I've received another question from another listener. So I want to move on to this one right now. This listener is saying, can you clarify where you mention death of humans and still talk of humans coming and going repeatedly? Can you shed more light on this, please? How is this related to law of cycle earlier mentioned? So let me repeat that, Gregory. Can you clarify where you mention death of humans and still talk of humans coming and going repeatedly? Can you shed more light on this, please? How is this related to the law of cycle earlier mentioned?
When death is mentioned, it does not refer to that which is alive, that animates the physical body of human personalities. That which animates the physical body is the spirit spark. And that spirit spark is immortal because it's of spirit. However, the spirit spark evolves from its initial state of unconsciousness to a state of consciousness of the environment, and subsequently to self-consciousness. By self-consciousness, that means the talents which are sown into it have been developed in such a way that it is able to align itself with the process radiations within the universe, not only the physical universe, but also the non-physical universe, such that it's able to draw strength, it's able to draw from this radiation and work harmoniously with those who are responsible for the maintenance of creation. Maintenance of creation, of the physical creation, which is perceptible to men of flesh and blood, and also perceptible to those who have transitioned away from their physical body to that of the spirit. Therefore, in the process of maturity, the spirit seed grain incarnates again and again in order to fortify its maturity in accordance with the will of Him that permitted it at all to come into existence. So that process in which it first incarnates to gather some experiences to mature, and subsequently drops the physical body because it is exhausted, and comes back again in another earth life. That process, sometimes many call it as reincarnation. So you find that, yes, what death is merely the shedding of the physical body, which physical body is perishable and only cooperates with the spirit for a limited time frame.
Thanks, Gregory, for this picture you've painted about, you could say, this cycle of life and death and development and evolution of human beings from a spirit germ, which is our starting point as a human being. We started as a spirit, unconscious spirit germ in, you can say, in heaven, in the spiritual world, not on earth. And our journey took us, in our journey to become conscious, we traveled from this world of heaven towards this world of matter, where the earth is, the universe, the physical universe, where the earth is, and that's how we. There's a journey, there's a process on this. Without going into all the detail of it, we landed on this earth. We can go to the story of creation to get the full detail about it. But as we know, there were animals before there were human beings on this earth. So there was a process of evolution where the human beings landed on this earth. But the start of the journey is as a human spirit seed or germ in heaven. And this is also known as paradise, the human paradise. So that's where we started unconscious. Our wish was, or desire was, to become conscious. And that journey led us to come to this physical world, where the main reason for that, just in case people are wondering, why did we have to leave this paradise, is because it was the speed of activity there in this world of paradise or heaven was so fast that we couldn't really take it there. We had to come to a world which was slower, where we could develop, the speed of activity, we could handle it better there. And that's how we have come to this earth. And then, yes, here on earth, there is this cycle of birth and death, physical birth, physical death. But that's not the end of us, because we are spiritual beings. It's not the physical matter that we are. That is just what we wear, or in a coat that we wear to experience this world of matter. And so that is, and then when we die, we just leave this world of matter, or let's say the immediate world. It's really quite a detailed story to get the picture properly. But because it's a long journey that we have traveled all the way from, you could say, heaven down to this earth. So there's one cycle which is on this earth, and then when we die, there's another further cycle going on. But the real ultimate cycle, if I can say, of which is our spiritual cycle or spiritual journey, which is we start in the heaven in paradise as unconscious, come to this earth to become mature and conscious, having a lot of experiences, and then it is not in one earth life that we will become fully conscious, mature human beings. It will take maybe a number of lives, reincarnation as we call it, to become mature, and then when we have reached a particular certain maturity, then we can return on that journey back into paradise as fully conscious. In fact, the real thing is self-conscious. So again, everything is quite a big picture to absorb that, but that's the brief story. That's the main cycle that we have to go through. But on Earth, we might be coming a few times also to mature, and so everything will have a full picture to be understood. But that is the overall picture, let's say. And the simple idea is, or the purpose, you can say, of us human beings is to become from unconscious to conscious to self-conscious. That is all what this life for us human beings is about. So thank you for that, Gregory. Before I go further with questions, I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abhrushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is the world has changed. The world has changed. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I mentioned, we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space live stream. That is for the live show, which we broadcast on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, again that's the number 1, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is the world has changed. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we are saying the world has changed, and we explained that what really has changed is what is in the world, you can say, rather than the world itself, because the processes are eternal. They don't really change. There is a birth, growth, and death, you could say, throughout the world, whether it's human beings, whether it's stars. This is all in the world of matter we're looking at the moment, animals, and so on. So that is constantly the same cycle, constantly happening. So in that sense, the world does not change, the cycle does not change. And it's rather what's the beings or the inhabitants, as you put it, Gregory, that are living in this world that are changing. Okay, and what is the change happening? There's obviously the birth, growth, and death. That is one thing we know. Going back to the question of that listener, there were sort of two things we were talking about. There, you could say, the same human beings, in quotes, they are being recycled with reincarnation and so on, but they are also fresh human beings, if I can use that word, also incarnating. So there's that cycle also continuing. Also, this is so to give the clarity about this. As I said, the picture is quite detailed. It doesn't mean it's somehow complicated, because when you get the word complicated, it means you can't understand something, which is not what we don't mean that. We just mean that let's say there's a few processes that are happening, they work together, and there's logic in it. It's not like some magic thing going on in these processes, and all of it is happening through nature, the laws of nature. It's not a random or arbitrary way the world works. There is a system, mechanism, working naturally, and in a way, that's what the Grail Message is all about, is explaining that what is this natural system, the processes in this world and the different inhabitants, as Gregory has said, that inhabit this world. What is this, you could say, life cycle, specifically more for our interest is the human being. And we know, of course, we are not the only beings that exist in this world. However, for us, our main understanding is about ourselves. And then, of course, because we interact with other beings and so on, we need to know what they are and what their purposes are as well. So it's a big picture in this way that we need to comprehend. Now, I think I will now go to the question of the other listener who sent a question earlier on. Let me just see what he's saying. It was quite detailed. He has written the message. So let me just see that now. Okay, this is more like a comment rather than a question. So the person is saying, no, okay, I'm going to read it out as it is, and then we'll make sense of it. No, it has not changed, as it has always been. This has been for thousands of years. Only the darkness has intensified. The world sank a long time ago, enabling dark spirits to incarnate and cause the madness you see around today. It is nauseating. The world is not changing. It is being destroyed by those who serve Lucifer. Their hatred goes for, okay, this is a bit political, so I will not go there because it's about spiritual we are about. Let me just see. Their hatred goes back centuries, and who invented much that mankind take for granted today. Who made and designed that great cities are now turning into dystopian nightmares. Who brought you all the benefits of the great discoveries and brought you the arts and great composers. The one blessing is in those human spirits who are now striving upwards and know that the earth is not their home. Once the darkness has completely destroyed everything, it will have nothing left other than its own damnation. So it's quite a lot being said here, Gregory and listeners. So I'm trying to break it down, and I will try to do that when I say this now. So, Gregory, we were talking about earlier about, is the world getting better or worse in terms of life of human beings? And I think you said that it has gone worse because, as we say in our every show, pretty much every week, it's meant to be one for all. This is human beings, one for all and all for one. And that surely is not the case in the world, if that is how we are going to have a spiritual value, we're one for all and all for one. So that is not happening. So what I want to say then, Gregory, what has led to this um, situation that we are living in today? Uh, uh, um, was that we, let's say, when we have gone downhill, if I can say like that, uh, what has led to that? Is it Lucifer, the devil, who you could say directed us downwards through his temptation, because that is one of his ways? Lucifer, we are told, is a high angel, archangel, and he was meant to help us. That's what we are told in the Bible and other spiritual writings. And then somehow, um, instead of helping us, he turned into what we call, like we use the word devil, and tried to tempt us and make us fall and fail. So is it the devil or Lucifer, Gregory, that is responsible for our downfall as human beings? Or is there more to this story? Can you help us with this story?
Every progress or lack of it is dependent on the individual which has been granted the free will to make decisions. So bringing an extraneous personality into it does not excuse the individual from making these decisions which will be of benefit to itself, even if the making of the decision is personally very challenging. So when one hears the case of Lucifer and it tempted the individual, if that individual has not got a free will, then it will be the fault of Lucifer. Lucifer did not tempt the plants because the plants lack a free will. Lucifer did not tempt the animals because the animals do not have a free will, which free will is of the spirit to make decisions. Yet Lucifer is there. It is in our own weaknesses, in not striving hard enough to recognize the workings in nature, in creation, and aligning ourselves to the volition that permitted us in the first instance to come into existence. In that particular scenario, what one has found is that instead of using the powers which has been granted the individual to work its way outwards, subsequently releasing itself and moving back home, it has succumbed to the pleasures here in the world of matter and refused to dissociate itself subsequently and move back home, because it spends so much time on associating itself with the pleasures of the earth. It has subsequently overdeveloped that tool which is or which is supposed to be the executive of the decisions, which decisions have accrued from the intuitions of men or from the spirit. In that particular case, you find that there is no balance. There is no balance because the intellect, which is the frontal brain of man, has taken over, and in that case, gradually loosened or severed the connection with the spirit. Therefore, what remains is basically to gather experiences here on earth, makes use of the experiences in accordance with the volition of the intellect, not with the volition of the spirit that needs these experiences to mature and to adjust itself in accordance with the will of the Almighty that permitted it to come into existence. In that case, that power radiation that streams to it, to some extent, is able to make use of it, but it doesn't permit it to stream to others. In that case, there is the lack of balance. And it is that balance that subsequently, it is the lack of balance that subsequently precipitated the activities in which one now has an overdevelopment of the frontal brain, which is the seat of the intellect. That is the problem which has plagued the human personality ever since it got to the earth and succumbed to the pleasures of the earth, thereby forgetting where it started as an unconscious spirit gem.
Thank you, Gregory, for this picture that you have painted, an explanation you have given about the story of how, let's say, man has fallen or humanity has fallen with, yes, Lucifer involved in the fall of man. However, man still is making his own decision to follow what Lucifer is, let's say, temptations given to man, whatever he aimed at man. So you can't put the finger on Lucifer, the blame of finger of blame on Lucifer directly on his own, that, if there was no Lucifer, man would just be fine, everything would be okay. No, yes, he was involved. However, the man decided to follow. That's a decision. So that one you can't get away from your own decision, that you follow something. You can't say, just because the devil is there or Lucifer is there, attempt to tempt you, that you are falling because of that temptation. Yes, there is temptation, but you are still making a decision to follow the temptation. So that's, so that responsibility goes back on the human being, not on the Lucifer. He's responsible for what he does, but you are responsible for what you do. Oh, okay. I've got an incoming call from a listener. Let me just see. Oh, let me just see. There's a message actually. Let me just see. One moment. Okay, so I got the message. So basically, Gregory, you painted a picture there of how this story of Lucifer, what Lucifer did. It's not, okay. I don't know if this person understands some. I'm going to continue. Let me just see if this listener has something to say. One moment.
Good evening, sir.
Oh, hello, listener. Are you wanting to be in the radio show? I just want to check. Yes, you do want.
Sir, can you throw me the link?
Yes, I will send you. I'll send you. Okay, so I'll send you now. I thought this listener wanted to actually make a point or a question, but actually they just wanted to get a link to the radio show. So I will do that quickly. So as I was like summarizing what Gregory has said, everything, we must have a clear picture. That's what I want to say. In any activity, what we have done in life, what is the story of our development. So as I said, Lucifer is responsible for what he did. His actual task was to help us actually as human beings to live on this earth and use the tools that we have been given. So one of the tools we have been given is called the intellect. So we have this intuition, which you can say is the voice of our spirit, which is meant to guide us. And we also have on this earth, we also have a specific tool called the intellect. People can call it brain. It sort of gives an idea, but the intellect is a tool to, let's say, use our abilities in a physical way. So for example, if you want to build a house, you need to have a foundation, and then you need to work out what is the depth of the foundation on measurements and things like that. And this is where the intellect comes in. It calculates these things. It's like me. However, the intellect is not meant to make decisions. It's only a tool. The decisions are meant to be made by the intuition or the spirit. Because the spirit is the real living person, the real person, that activates this physical body that we live on earth, and this intellect, it only is to be found in this world of matter. When we pass on into the beyond, and then let's say if we move further up, we will not have this intellect anymore. It's only in the world of matter that we have this intellect. So that's we really, like everything, you need to use it in the right place. All the tools that we have, it need to be applied accordingly, and we need to know the limitations of all these tools that we have. So the spirit, the voice of the spirit is the intuition that is to be active at all times in all the worlds that we pass through. The intellect is used for the world of matter, and it's only a tool for that, and it's not to make decisions. It's only for making things, let's say, life on earth work for us. It can be like we see in technology, very advanced in science, we use our intellect very much there. So all these things, you can say, can be used for good and bad. It's how you use it that brings the results. And of course, Gregory mentioned this point of balance. If you overuse something, specifically, let's say, intellect, then everything now, it becomes intellectual, as they say, or materialistic. And then the danger of that is you forget that did you come here only to live on this earth? Is that what is your life only about? Or is there more than that? Are we meant to become something, yes, there's reincarnation. Are we meant to completely, constantly become like reincarnating and recycling on this earth? Or the purpose is greater than that? So, as I mentioned earlier, the real purpose of the human being, we started as, or the journey that we human beings have started is unconscious spirit, germ or seed, you can say, that is in heaven, and the aim is to become conscious. That's the ultimate journey, the ultimate cycle. The other cycles which are inside this cycle are just part of the journey, and we are not meant to get stuck in the little cycle which are part of the journey. We are meant to fulfill the whole, the ultimate cycle, and each human being will choose his own, her path. Free will, we have this free will, we choose our own path, which way we go. And according to that, we, let's say our fate is in our own hands. Now, I just want to let listeners know that this is Bless Radio. You're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is the world has changed. The world has changed. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type any questions or comments. And we are broadcasting on, as I've said, Bless Radio 1. No, that's the number 1.com. We are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1. Bless Radio 1 space live stream. That is for the live show, which we broadcast on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to a recording of this show by tomorrow, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number 1 there, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is The World Has Changed. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's zeno.fm/Bless Radio 1. Now, I will go back to because the comment of the listener that I was reading is quite long, so I want to refer to it again. So the person said, so we're saying the world has changed. So what has changed? The Somehow you could say man has fallen. That's what we use this phrase. Man has fallen. Fallen in what way? Because let's say entered this world of sin. Again, people might be wondering, what do we mean by that? Let's say we have gone astray. Astray in what way? Again, people will ask, what is it? So I want to go back to Gregory. Just checking, Gregory, are you back with us now?
Yes, I've been back.
Okay. So now, I'm saying, Gregory, we have gone astray. The world has changed. That's what this show is about. And I know you said the world itself has not changed, but what's in it has changed, which is us human beings. I mean, there's other living beings and other things that exist within this world. They could also change, it's true. But our main reference is when we say the world has changed, we're referring to us human beings. So we said there has been a fall of man, meaning man has gone astray. We talked about Lucifer leading us astray. However, we made the decision to go follow Lucifer. So that's how you could explain that. Now, I'm trying to think. So, Gregory, when we say humanity has gone astray, what is, let's say, the consequence of that? Can you explain that? Yes, we say man has sinned. People have sinned. So let's say we are carrying sin now. And what is the consequence of all this, you could say, by going astray, humanity going astray?
When one considers that the volition in nature, the volition in creation that appertains to that which needs development is to initially absorb that which it needs, grow, and get to maturity, and in accordance with these laws of nature or laws of creation, evolve to that state of maturity where it is able to subsequently absorb of the radiations that stream from on high, to make use of these radiations first for himself or herself, and to spread it to others who, like him or her, are striving for spiritual ennoblement, spiritual growth. Now, when you now consider that that has not been the case, that's one for all and all for one, which is supposed to be helpful to the human personality, that has not been the case. And in that case, it has gone the wrong way. For it now, to some extent, absorb of these radiations, makes use of it for itself, and does not permit it to enrich others. Because if that happened, then the one for all and all for one would have been made manifest, and the states of selfishness, of destruction, of all the ugly things you find here on earth only is the direct evidence of the violation of this balance. Because had the human personality made use of these radiations from on high, first to enrich itself, mature in the process, and permit others to make use of it, then there will be continuity, just as he himself or herself is of support to those who are not as matured as himself or herself. So are others who are more matured able to connect with him with wonderful radiations, with advice. In that case, there will be continuity and there will be balance. In that particular case, the human personality, due to its continuous development, continuous refinement, will rise higher. But in the case where it stops that one for all and all for one and causes destruction, one finds that the final radiations that others are supposed to share with the human personality, those ones have been cut off. And what it now relies on is on the cooled down radiations which the intellect has absorbed, and it now defines its own boundary, not wanting others to come near him, considering that he knows it all. But in this world, you never walk alone. Many have realized this, and that is why when him that harbors divine love within himself, when he stepped here on earth, he made it very clear to love thy neighbor as thyself. Because in doing that, it's more like one for all and all for one. In that case, he knew that the radiation which is due to the personality who follows that rule, that those noble radiations will reach him in balance. So it becomes very clear why the state of the earth, or better expressed, the state of the inhabitants, the human inhabitants of the earth, has become what it is right now. The way they care to think, examine their thoughts, the way of their activities which are perceptible, examine it. Very rarely do they bring their intuitions into the balance. So most of all these things are tied to their thoughts and their deeds. And where their deeds and their thoughts, where they resonating with their intuition, which intuition is able to connect to their source of origin, then things would have been much different. Things would have been harmonious. And the sort of quagmire which the human personality has sunk, that will not be there. You're on mute.
I've been talking, Gregory, all this time, not knowing I was on mute. So apologies, listeners, for that. I was talking about what you said, Gregory, about balance and harmony. That if we are not having balance and no harmony, we are overdoing, overthinking, overstretching, over that, whatever the word activity might be. You can see clearly when you overdo something, it cannot lead to success. Instead, it will lead to stress or disease or some sort of problem like that. So it's clear, common sense tells you things must be in balance and therefore in harmony. And the big, how can I say, help that we have is the intuition, which can sense automatically, you can say, in any situation, which way to go. Are you overdoing this, or are you meant to go this way or that way? It is totally your guide in any activity. That's what we're supposed to rely on and apply in any situation. And it's 100% reliable and, you could say perfect in that if you are listening to the intuition and not something else, which can be imagination or whatever you might be, in quotes, any idea that you might be, let's say, addicted to or attached to. See, the intuition itself is completely, let's say, perfect in this way, in this working. So that's what's really important for us to be aware of that, to use that. So now I'm thinking, Gregory, we have this path of our development from going from unconscious to conscious to self-conscious, and that took us from this heaven and paradise or spiritual world down to this earth. And then that is only halfway of the journey, and the other halfway is to return back to paradise or heaven. But when we return, we are going to be coming, or we are meant to be coming back as fully conscious, mature, in fact, self-conscious human beings. That's their aim. That's the idea. Now, Gregory, there's in our spiritual teachings, I know there are many different spiritual teachings, but in general, we know that there's some, in many teachings, we have been told that there is a judgment or last judgment. Or you could also call it time of harvest, because it's not like forever that we can continue to reincarnate and just whatever we have done, our chance is given to redeem. So, Greg, can you tell us about this um, time of what is this last judgment, and what is meant to happen in it, and you know, uh, yeah, yes. Can you tell us more about this last judgment, Gregory?
Thanks. There is always some confusion when the expression "the last judgment" is mentioned. But when one uses the framework of the laws of creation, the laws of nature, as the basis of happenings, then it becomes very clear. Becomes clear because these so-called last judgments is consistent with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation. For one can easily perceive that one of the laws of creation is that of reciprocal activity. In the reciprocal activity, that which the human personality has put into creation will sprout, take on form, and mature, finally will return to the individual the essence of what the individual has put in creation. That being the case, whatever returns it has received, it is supposed to use that for its maturity, to taste of that which it has sown, for it has been granted the free will to make decisions, to make spiritual decisions. That being the case, it you also know that it is here in the world of matter. In the world of matter, the processes, though lasting for millennia, for a very long time, they are temporal. And the human personality that has come into the world of matter to experience is granted the opportunity, whilst here in the world of matter, to experience using that which has been granted to it. Here on earth is the physical body, to mature, such that to become conscious and subsequently self-conscious, which means all those features which have been sown into it have now matured and is able to use them for the furtherance of creation. But that time is finite. That means it will come to a time in which this world of matter, which is temporal, will undergo disintegration to its primeval substances, so as to reconstitute later. And those human personalities that have matured enough have severed themselves from the world of matter in their noble striving will be on their way back to paradise as self-conscious human personality, because they have taken on the human form and the human spiritual maturity, heading back home joyfully. However, those who are caught up in the world of matter, who refuse to sever themselves because they enjoy the intrigues in the world of matter, those particular individuals will be left behind and will have to experience the disintegration of that particular side in the world of matter to its primeval substances. That being the case, in experiencing it, the human form, which they themselves had initially constructed in their maturity, but which maturity is now in the wrong direction, that form will be lost. That means they are crushed back to the human spirit seed grain. That particular case, that process in which there's the separation of those who have matured in accordance with the will of the Almighty and those who have not matured in accordance with the will of the Almighty, that particularly is the judgment, the last judgment, in which the wheat is separated from the chaff. And for those that have grown in accordance with the will, have the opportunity to everlasting life. Whereas those who are caught in this world of matter, who refuse to sever themselves, are now crushed. Just like you will have that an insect that falls into a flower and refuses to move out, when that flower dies, it also dies with it. More of what one has discussed here, more of that can be found in the walk, in the light of truth, the Grail Message of Abraham.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for explaining this last judgment, which is a natural happening, a process in nature, and not what somebody may think that is some, God is artificially or specifically, making something happen, which is not outside of the natural process. So, because if you think of the judgment, it's we say last judgment, but the judgment is simply it's always happening every moment, because you do an action, and then there's always, we know according to the law, a consequence. what you sow, you shall reap. So that is automatically, you could call it a judgment happening. There's a natural cycle of sowing and reaping. So you can see that judgment. And then when we say last judgment, it's in the context of this earth, you can say. Everything has a birth and a death time, and one day the earth will disappear, or let's say collapse and break down. So we can't expect to be living on this earth forever, and so there has to be a last opportunity for that. Again, there's more to say about these things, as Gregory has mentioned, which really you'd have to pick up the Grail Message and read there and absorb and understand and absorb the actual happening. We can't go into detail about these matters in this radio show. We only can introduce things or mention a few things to give a small picture, you could say, about the really big picture that the process is really what it's about. And listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. And I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is, excuse me, the world has changed. The world has changed. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. And you can scroll down on the homepage. You'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I've said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the, actually there's a better way I've now discovered to find this radio show on YouTube. So you go to youtube.com and type in Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space Grail Message, and then the topic of the show, which tonight is the world has changed. And this line that you put in the search box, you can use that to listen to the live show and also to the recording when the show has finished. So that is the best way. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows again on YouTube. It's the same way. Just type in the Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space Grail Message, and then it'll list down the other shows that we've had in the past. Now, then there's another way to listen, which is to the live show, that is Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, I know there are things happening in the political world or in the current affairs, if we can say, where we say the world has changed and things have, let's say, happening dramatically, quicker and faster than, let's say, we are used to in the, let's say, the world of politics. Decisions are having to be made quickly because, let's say, there's some new person, if I can say new person, new way of acting. One person is doing that without going into names and is shaking up the world and causing everybody to also make decision in response to these other decisions. And sometimes, let's say, the language that is used, you can't really work out what the person is talking about. What do they mean? What is their real intention? You know, in our show, Gregory, we said many times, we have our, you could say, volition, we have our thoughts and our, you could say, physical deeds. And they don't always align. Somebody can open his mouth and say something and mean completely the opposite. And let's say it may not be obvious what they mean or what is their intention, you know. And so I'm thinking, Gregory, what is the driving force in, let's say, in a manifestation of, or, you know, of some action? Is it the words? Is it the thoughts? Or is it the intention? Because, and they can be confusing, as I said, Gregory. Somebody can say one thing and mean the opposite. And then you don't know what exactly the person is doing. So what is the driving force, Gregory? Is it our words in terms of activity? What makes the, how can I say, what drives the activity? Is it our words? Is it our actions? Is it our thoughts?
It is said, by their works we shall know them. The works of the human personality are those activities which are perceptible to the five senses, the consequences of it. The works also include one's thoughts and also one's intuitions. It is the task of the human personality who, as an observer, need to strive to grasp the motive behind the activities of men. The best one may say is that the motive behind the activities of many a personality is fear. Due to its lack of understanding of the laws that that run creation, the lack of understanding of the natural laws, of the laws of creation, or of the divine laws, it proceeds in such a way, considering that its way of arbitrariness is the way forward. Therein lies the fear, the pressure that has arisen, which pressure has its roots in one's intuition, in one's thoughts. Rapping at the door of one's thoughts that something may not be in order, may not be in the order that creation needs it for it to be harmonious. It is fear, even if many put off a brave face. However, it is the task of the individual to examine these works, which works are in deeds, are in thoughts, and in one's intuition. The motive behind can be found there. Thereafter, the human personality that is seeking seriously has clarification and subsequently how to proceed.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for explaining that. That is, by their works you shall know them, which includes, as you said, the thoughts, the volition, and the deeds, the physical deeds that we see. So you can't say it's only one or the other. All of these are the works of human beings. Another point I wanted to ask you about, Gregory, is you can say the spiritual language and the earthly language. Sometimes it's not very easy to make sense. Jesus, he spoke in parables. And in fact, I wanted to go through some of his words because it was not, let's say, even his own disciples and other people around Jesus couldn't really understand Jesus, so, and then it is not a surprise that people who came after, they wouldn't understand what Jesus was saying either. So I just want to pick something, just a moment, I'll find it that I have. Okay. It was a Sermon on the Mount, and quite a lot were words Jesus said there. Let me see. It's just to show that how the spiritual words are different from our earthly words. Okay, so I'm going to read this is from Matthew chapters 5 to 7, and I'm not sure I'll read everything, but and it's titled The Sermon on the Mount. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. This is, of course, Jesus. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Gregory, let's stop on that one, because already that, let's say, it's hard to understand it. It says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." What does that mean there, Gregory? Poor in spirit. We all have a spirit, isn't it? So what does Jesus mean when he says poor in spirit?
The answer lies basically in the picture you painted. Here are those who came to listen to him. Those who came to listen to him needed more than what they had. In that case, these are the poor in spirit who are striving to listen to the word of the Almighty. Therefore, one can see the picture in making efforts to come to listen to him, knowing fully well that they lack that maturity. Poverty means lack of something. Lack of spirituality in the sense that they are not active enough in spirit. They confirm that through their presence in coming to listen to him. And therefore, the direction is made open. So, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, who have come to listen to him. The direction is then clear. For theirs will be the kingdom in their strivings. One should understand or must take spiritual expressions as inclusive, as metaphors, as comprehensive. Christ always spoke in a comprehensive manner, painting intuitive pictures. Should the individual follow those pictures the way they are offered, then it becomes quite easy to arrive at the pointer. Every picture is a pointer. So, with the words of Christ painting a picture, it points to the kingdom of the Father. That kingdom which is everlasting. That is different from those who are full of themselves and consider that they are rich in spirit. To acknowledge precisely what you are, that you lack something, that is the beginning of wisdom. Because when you lack something, you make an effort to search for it. It's different from those who already think they know it all.
Thanks, Gregory. I'm going to continue reading the rest of the chapter because I think that brings brings that picture that you said just now, you explained just now. So, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So, Gregory, when I read these words, I'm now getting that picture that's where you stand right now. You might be this, let's say, poor in spirit, like we said, or you might be weak in this matter, or you might have a particular nature. But let's say the people around might treat you unfairly. However, because of the way you stand, you will get your reward, which is, let's say, the kingdom of heaven, or because you stand for righteousness, you will be rewarded in heaven. It looks like, Gregory, what I'm seeing there, the reward seems to come into heaven, not on this earth. Is that what is the, how can I say, what is the reason for that, Gregory? Let me ask this way.
Basically, it is the human limitations that differentiates and considers this is the earth, this is heaven, this is whatever. Now, consider at the time of the passing of Christ on the cross, there were two thieves. One of them who admitted that he was poor in spirit. No doubt about that, because he confessed and pleaded for mercy. The result was immediate. when it was said, "Today thou wilt be with me, or thou be in paradise." That is a particular case of someone who is poor in spirit. Many times people consider earthly activities, earthly haughty show man activities as being rich in spirit. Far from it. The richness in spirit is dependent on one's intuitions, on the recognitions that the individual is able to achieve. Just like the thief on the cross, in an instant, in quiet reflection, him who has been categorized as despicable, himself realizing that, accepting that he has nothing in spirit, and yet pleaded in his recognition, a miracle happened. Again, when you listen to the case where there are those who are able to see the Almighty, there was a passage there in which those not poor in spirit,
Okay. Blessed are pure in heart, for they shall see God.
Those who are pure in heart. Purity. Being able in purity to recognize, again, the key word here, recognize the activities of the Almighty in his work, which is the work of creation. In that case, the human personality is able to now advance, like it's been stressed again and again. The spiritual language is more of a metaphor, which is inclusive, which is precise. But this language is a picture which is a pointer. That pointer of recognition where the actual reality is. Of course, there's the earthly reality, but it's very temporal. The real reality is in the recognition of the Spirit. For there is able to mature, there is able to have a grand picture of the processes, of the happenings in nature, in creation, and in that case, it is able to adjust itself. So the words of Christ must be taken as those lively pictures, which pictures are inclusive, which pictures are, in quotes, complete, because they paint a very sharp picture, just as he gave in the case when he was asked, "And who is my neighbor?"
Thank you, Gregory, for this explanation you have given about how we can understand spiritual language using our earthly mind and brain. You have to use the intuition, but then to get it, to absorb it, you also have to absorb it into your earthly brain and mind. So spiritually first, absorb it spiritually, the picture, get the sense of what it is being said, and then you put it into the physical world, because that's where you are now. You need to apply it there, you know. But because it was important I wanted that to build this picture about understanding spiritually first, you know, getting this picture first, and then, you know, realizing it in the earthly world as well. Like you said, Gregory, spiritual reality and also the earthly reality. They are both realities that we have to recognize. Now, listeners, we have come to the end of the show tonight on the topic of the world has changed. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. I would like to now read from the foreword of the Grail Message, which is titled, "For Your Guidance." The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushin. So, dear listeners, if you wish to find out more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, with another topic. Take care now. Good night.